So in case you missed it from the previous video, the whole premise is to look at the denominator and leave it alone, 3 root x and root m, but change the sign in between. So instead of plus, change it to minus. If you do that to the bottom, you have to do that to the top as well. So I like to work with the denominator first, just understanding that as you FOIL, 3 times 3 would be 9. Root x times root x would be x. I don't like how that showed up. 9. There we go. The outside term is negative 3 root xm, and the inside is plus 3 root xm. They cancel each other out. So you can see I wrote it out here and here for those problems, here and here. But hopefully you get to the point where you can understand the outside and inside will cancel, and root m times negative root m will give me just negative m. Now in the numerator, I would go ahead and distribute because it's not going to cancel like this one did. So what you get is 2 times 3, because they're both whole numbers, is 6 root mx. And then as you distribute, you get minus 2 root m times root m is just m. And this is a perfect answer. And we can move on. So feel free to pause the video. Make sure you understand it before getting too far into the assignment. And again, I'm really reiterating that I've had a lot of students ask, they're not quite getting it, which is fine. I'm not upset by any means. But just so you know, you could answer this problem by right away doing root 80 over root 80. The only thing is you might be making more work for yourself. Because what you could do, just like any other problem, is you can simplify if both top and bottom are divisible by the same number. Now technically what I'm dividing by is root 2. I'm doing this very methodically, by the way. So as I look at that, I might say, okay, well the square root of 32 is divided by the square root of 2 would give me the square root of 16. And square root of 80 divided by the square root of 2 would give me root 40. And even from there, I might even divide it by the square root of maybe 4 to speed things up a little bit. Square root of 4, square root of 4. So we're looking at 16 divided by 4 is 4. Notice that my radical is still there. Root 40 divided by root 4 will be root 10. And even then, I can divide one more time. So I'm simplifying first. I think that's helpful. And you could be sitting there and say, no, it's not. And you might be right. Anyway, we have root 2 over root 5. And now I think it's advantageous to multiply top and bottom by root 5. Because I don't want to do any of that math. Because I can quickly say root 5 times root 5 is exactly 5, because it's the square root of 25. And root 2 times root 5 is root 10. So that's your best answer. Except now that I'm looking at this, it says to rationalize the numerator. So what I should have done is stopped right here and just square rooted square root 4. So the best answer would have been 2 over root 10. So make sure you read the directions as well. I didn't even bother reading the directions. We were supposed to rationalize the numerator on this problem. But here's rationalizing the denominator. R the D, and this was rationalize the numerator. So that's another important thing. As you check your answers in the back of the book, you might notice that you did the wrong directions. So be ready for that. And it looks like exercise 6 and 7 also want you to rationalize the numerator. So I'll practice that with you. So notice we're doing the cube root, and I want the numerator to be all by itself. Now if you only do one of these 5 b's, remember if it's the cube root, we need 3 of them. So maybe, I don't know, maybe write out another 5b. So really what's happening is I'm multiplying this by 25b squared, top and bottom. But the reason why I like to write it out this way is you can identify that you have 3 5s and you have 3b, so you just left with 5b in the numerator. Because remember, for the cube root, we're looking for 3 of the same, and I found that. And then the denominator, I think you can quickly identify that is the cube root of 50, because 2 times 25, AB squared. If I did that way too fast, feel free to write down any questions or rewatch the video and see if you come up with something that makes sense. Yeah, every year I get a lot of questions on this unit, so you wouldn't be the first. Since we're rationalizing the numerator, just like in exercise 4, you leave things alone, but then you change the sign from minus to plus. But notice I'm doing that with the numerator because I'm rationalizing the numerator, whereas in exercise 4, I was rationalizing the denominator, so I was looking at the denominator and switching each of those. So whatever I do to the top, I also have to do to the bottom. So as I FOIL, root x times root x is x. 3 root x minus 3 root x will cancel each other out. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And then I'm going to go ahead and just distribute that 4 into that 4 root x plus 4 times 3 is 12. This is the answer I'm looking for. Yeah, so notice with your homework that we're doing multiples of 4 again. So 4, 8, 12, 16. Now after you get to 80, go ahead and jump to 89, so you do have one odd problem. It's just a way that I could easily shorten the assignment, but also make, because there's some good problems towards the end, and give you some practice there. So you should be good to move forward with the assignment.